and incarceration rates, and the list goes on and on and on. Life's inequities, hardship, and suffering are so vast and wide for many, many, many of our students and families. And we see Representative Gordon Booth, she knows and she understands. And she's always working and trying to find ways to, working very hard to ameliorate or even eradicate the system that is broken. So the partners that are here today that I'm going to mention, they're in the trenches with PR Public Schools every day doing what I always call the Mother Teresa type of work. Sheriff Asbelt, Family Corps, the Holt Center for Healthy Living, and Chestnuts, thank you for your ongoing partnership. Together we are really changing lives for the better, and I always say one starfish at a time. So since the need is so great, the R3 program will restore, will reinvest, will renew people and the community. And so I always talk about a fourth R, which is reimagining. And so that fourth R, we're reimagining our work in order to get this thing done, which is great. So this grant was secured through the efforts of our Director of Innovation and Grants, Dr. G, I call her Dr. G, Dr. Susan Gershnich. She's an excellent grant writer, and her team, and it will provide resources to young people who have experienced legal, while also working on preventive strategies that you'll hear from Coach Booth, also a career coach. There's also the successful re-entry into society for individuals who have been incarcerated or they were involved with the judicial system, and a lot more. R3 will be able to provide those supports. So as a district, we always say, you know, as a community, as a city, we are as strong as our most vulnerable, or we normally say our weakest link. We're as strongest as our weakest link. So again, in closing, I would like to thank Representative Gordon Booth for advocating for the legislation that created this opportunity, and her support of Peoria Public Schools, the entire state of Illinois, the Peoria County, the city of Illinois, and also for tackling these transformative and innovative initiatives, again, to help individuals most in need. So with no further ado, I will ask Representative Gordon Booth to come up right now, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is a very exciting day. Having the ability to stand here with some of our strongest community partners that work every day in our communities to lift up people, lift up families, is what this work and what today is all about. So I'm here to support what's happening because of the R3 dollars in this community, and I'm excited that this collaboration was the largest collaboration funded within this particular region. As many of you know, I was one of the lead negotiators on CRTA, the Cannabis Regulation and Taxation policy in 2019. That was the result of about 4 years of work. And my contributions to that work largely lied within the areas of expungement. Expungement is incredibly important to me. It's an important process to give people the possibility of being able to move their lives forward and not being calcified in poverty. And the other baby of mine that was a part of this more than 700-page bill was the R3 program. R3 was so important to me because I felt that it was critical that if we were going to be legalizing a product that had been used for the last 80 years to penalize largely black and brown people, it was incredibly important that we took some of the resources of the sale of this product and begin to reinvest it and repairing those same communities that have been torn down by the war on drugs. If you go back and if you look at arrest records over the last 80 years and you look at who was arrested for cannabis-related issues, In this county, it would have been in 61605. That is where you would have seen the largest amount of cannabis arrests. So it's only right that we be investing almost $1 million in this year alone to help repair harm within this zip code for families and community members across this city. As we all see, this is a product that many people are engaging in, adults that is, you must be 21. The reality is that we did not expect there to be so many sales in this first year. We expected that there would be about $20 to $22 million to be able to distribute statewide through the R3 funds. Actually, that dollar amount was about $31 million. Going into this next funding year, there could be upwards of $50 to even $65 million of funding for R3 moving forward. So again, we're so excited about this collaboration. We know that lives are going to be changed because of the work that all of these great partners are going to do, and I'm proud to be standing here with these community leaders here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you, Doctor, for allowing me to be here today. This is wonderful. For those that know me, since I've been a huge advocate of not just reform but reentry. That's something that we've really tried to build a strong program at the jail, and this grant allows us to take that to the next step. Dr. Karat just talked about Starfish. I'll talk about the STAR, because that's what we call our program. It's the Sheriff's STAR program, which is successful transition and reentry. So what we plan to do is continue what we've already started. It's addressing these major predictable barriers to reentry, which is housing, employment, education. It's these things that we're going to continue to work on, and with the school in education. I've said so many times the number one influencer of public safety is employment. And to have gainful employment, we have to have a strong education system. So it's trying to link all these pieces together to give our community members the best chance to have a successful and prosperous life. So in saying that, I'll turn it over to Coach Booth.
Good morning. One of the things I want to just start off saying is thank you. I want to thank Representative Booth and also Dr. Karat for their leadership in the Peoria community. One of the things Dr. Karat talks about often, and when we meet as a team and we monitor our data, and although when we monitor our data of Peoria Public Schools, we see the progress that we're making. But for Dr. Karat, and although the needle is moving, the needle doesn't move far enough, fast enough. And one of the things that we realize is that along with continuing the strategies and the interventions and the supports that we put in place inside the school buildings, the strategies and interventions that also need to be put in place needs to be inside and out, because a lot goes on outside of the school buildings that our students and our community are exposed to or deal with that have a negative impact on the success sometimes inside the school building. And so it's efforts like these that the R3 gives us an opportunity to put more interventions in place, not only inside the school building, but outside the school building. And that's those efforts that we realize we can't do this alone as a school district. It's going to take all of the community partners that are here today, not only with Sheriff Asbell and reentry, but also Attorney Riley, Family Corps, Holt, Chestnut, to provide those services to support not only the students that we see every day, but to truly make a difference, we also have to provide those supports and interventions for their families and also our community as a whole. And when we can come together with these type of collaborations and these type of efforts, we'll see that data that Dr. Karat mentioned earlier truly change in a positive direction. We'll see the narrative of the 61605 zip code being the most economically distressed zip code in the state and also the country change. We'll see the narrative of the population decline change, but we'll also see graduation rates will increase. We'll also see employment rates increase, and those are some of the strategies that were implemented in this R3 initiative to create career coaches, to expose our students to careers and opportunities and teach them those job skills, but then also to give individuals a second chance. Whether there's a student going with advocates or a parent or a family member that just needs that second chance with an expungement or a sealment by providing those services through Attorney Riley. Many days at the Wraparound Center, we see individuals that their core need is those basic needs, whether it's food or whether it's shelter, whether it's housing. And so it's the services that are around this table today that's going to help not only Peoria Public Schools see their data change, but as the community see improvements. So thank you for being here today.
Okay, everyone, we'll open it up for questions. If anyone has it, just let them know ahead of time which speaker you're looking to speak with. Okay.
This could really be for any of you that want to address it, but what will you be looking at for, like, statistically to know that this is working and it's successful?
So each of these initiatives have outcomes that they're in goals that they're looking to meet. And so that will look different for each of these collaborations, whether it's Family Core providing those therapeutic services or those anger management services. We look for outcomes in behavior, change behavior, whether it relates to students. We look for outcomes as it relates to a positive attendance and test scores, some of the academic data. But as relates to Attorney Riley and some of the work that she will be doing, it'll be the success rate of individuals that are able to successfully get expungements and get sealments. But then beyond that, to be able to go into society and get that employment and that career opportunity that they weren't able to get without the successful sealing and expungement of their record. But then also in the area of housing, I mentioned basic needs earlier. Housing is is a critical factor in our community. The reentry rate for Sheriff Asbell and his team will have outcomes of individuals successfully reentering society, connecting them with job partnerships to be employed, to learn those skills, and to get the services they need. Many times when individuals return to society, the first thing that they need is basic needs. And HALT is one of our partners with Peoria Public Schools in providing that reproductive health. So just measuring and expanding the number of students that they will be able to reach on a day-to-day basis and a monthly basis and throughout a school year. And reaching those students at the earliest age possible that's appropriate to their development level. So all of those are outcomes, and that'll look different from each community partner.
So is this money going to existing programs, or is it going to build new programs?
So it's a combination of both. Some of these programs are already just trying something, doing it and reimagining. Like, yeah, Sheriff's program is a brand new program that has been implemented under his leadership, and he can talk about that. So there's a combination of both, new programs and expanding existing services and initiatives.
But they're not programs that are being created just specifically because this money is coming and we're going to get more as well. Were there programs that were specifically created?
For the most part, I think most of these are expansion programs. As I look around the group and some of our community partners, our justice advocates is
There's a need for that. You have always asked for more advocates,
yeah,
and so this will
absolutely
allow to provide more supports for kids. We can talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. So initially,
the need is so great.
absolutely.
You know, it's just more supports needed.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's funding ideas that you already have. You guys have lots of ideas, and this is helping make them a reality.
Absolutely. Dr. Crop mentioned the Justice Advocates. That was a program that has been in place, but it was on a small scale. We only had some justice advocates in place, and they targeted the high school population. And one of the things that we said was there's any opportunity that we get to expand this program to work with individuals younger. And so these funds will be able to assist with hiring of justice advocates to work with our middle school students that may be involved with the legal system to get them the supports and mentorship and guidance that they need at an early age.
Okay. And then you said you gave a specific number of how many people that this will be used to help. I mean, are you going to go out and find these individuals, or are there individuals that are like on a waiting list, or?
Yeah, so there's a combination. So one of the things we know that when you provide services and supports, it's definitely not a situation as you build it and they will come. Some will, But the masses, you have to go out and get them. You have to go out and build relationships with them. You have to supports and services are available. And so we plan to do both. Each of these initiatives and these community partners understand what's needed to reach our most vulnerable population and our most neediest population in society. So it's definitely not we're going to wait on them to show up at our door. So there's definitely going to be some intentional efforts to let them know the services and supports and resources that are available. And we're going to take those intentional efforts to go after them so that they can take advantage of them.
Can you talk about how this and the funds going with R3 will go hand in hand with the STAR program you mentioned?
This will kind of go back to the question that I was just asked. What are you building? We've always had in-custody programs, and what we've done, and we're able to expand with these dollars, is to have full-time reentry coordinators. I've got Angel Cruz and Dan Duncan, and if anyone's been around knows how lucky I am to have these individuals, because their heart's definitely in this. I've said this too many times. Everyone goes to church in jail, which means that the dangerous point for predictable failures is post-release. It's when they return to the community, because that's where the environment comes back to them. This has given us an opportunity to have two individuals to go out in the community and be an advocate for these individuals to keep them on the right track. So it's building that program. It's something that's always we've wanted, but these dollars definitely help us to have, two individuals. More money comes in, 3 individuals, 4 reentry case managers, and continue to grow that. We're going to define ours success in recidivism. It's reoffending in a 3-year window. And we're going to track these individuals, we're going to advocate them, and we're going to do everything in our power for them to succeed. So I'm very excited. It's putting all these pieces together. Guys, cops are lazy. Cops are lazy. The more we can do here at the school system, the less I have to do. And that's the biggest want and why I want to be involved with this, selfishly. Thank you.
And I do have a question for Representative Gordon Booth. Can you talk about the importance of the expungement of records that you were talking about, and why that's important to this and to you?
About 5 years ago, we started doing expungement summits here in Peoria through our office, working with Prairie State Legal Services, and actually Attorney Riley was one of the first lawyers who signed up to participate as a lawyer in that expungement summit. And what became abundantly clear to me, because before 5 years ago, unlike places like Cook County that has extensive expungement and sealment services, downstate Illinois didn't have those same services offered to people. And it was often brought to me by members of the community that, listen, this thing that I did 20 years ago, 10 years ago, is preventing me from getting housing. It is preventing me from being able to volunteer in my children's school. It is preventing me from getting a job to change my child's life. I can't even go to ICC to work to become a nurse because of something I did 25 years ago, so I'm stuck, calcified in poverty. Like, that's a very real thing. And when you begin to look at the very first expungement summit that we did in 2016, I got there about 15 minutes before the expungement, about 30 minutes before the expungement summit was to start. The line was out the door. It was raining. People were standing there waiting with their cases, looking for an opportunity. I can tell you the district that I represent does not look like me. Everybody that was standing in that line looks like me. There were hundreds of people who were ostensibly stuck in their lives. They all had children. Most of their children went where? To Peoria Public Schools. And so when we have this understanding that if we have the belief of personal responsibility and we also believe in redemption, then we actually have to give people the ability to truly move their lives forward. And that's what the expungement and sealment process is about. If you do something that you shouldn't do, and you commit that act and you pay your debt back to society, you should not still have that cloud over you in 20 years. And so probably of all the things that we do, the expungement component is probably the most exciting component in my estimation, because I have absolutely seen the way that folks who were at that very first expungement summit 5 years ago, I've seen those people's lives move forward. I've seen them move into better neighborhoods. I've seen the way that they've had the ability to invest back in their children, because when you make more money, the number one indicator as it relates to a child's success in school is the amount of money that their parent makes. So if we're giving parents the ability to provide a better life for their children, we're also providing a better outcome of education for our children.
What does that process for expungement look like, and how do these extra funds help with that?
So, and the expungement and sealment process, because they're both, it's quite extensive. The expungement process is actually something that one of the components of the CRTA policy was automatic expungement for people with cannabis offenses up to, is it 50 grams amount? Up to a particular amount, right? And then anything above that, I think it's 200 grams. And then above that amount, then you can actually petition the court. And so one of the things that we've done as a part of this expungement process within CRTA is we've made money available for people to have advocates that will go into counties all over the state that will actively work within the process that's been created for people to be able to get access to expungements, even if state's attorneys aren't taking the proactive approach to actually get those expungements and sealments done. So there's that. Then there's this process, which we believe is important because everyone honestly doesn't have cannabis offenses. And so what we're looking to do is provide a pathway for individuals, again, to pull themselves out of poverty, to give them the ability to move their lives forward. But I will tell you, you asked me the question of what does the expungement process look like. The expungement process is actually quite cumbersome. One of the things that I'm working on this year is a clean slate process where individuals that do successfully complete their sentence, means if you commit an act that is against the law, you fulfill your probation, you pay your fines. We are now working on a process where some individuals for certain offenses will actually be able to have those offenses automatically cleaned up, because the reality of it is that had it not been for this process, had it not been for the R3 money, had it not been for the money that was put into cannabis to help people move some of these offenses off their records, the only way that you would have been able to access this kind of process would have been if you were able to pay an attorney about $5,000 to $6,000. So ostensibly what we're saying is if you can get justice if you can afford it. That's not right.
Riley, can you come up and share about your role with the program as well?
I'm not sure if it's still morning or afternoon, but so I actually started off my practice with Prairie State Legal Services, and this is where I met Jahan, who started the Expungement Sealing Summit. So in that role, I was the lead attorney for expungement sealings. I also did housing, landlord-tenant work for residential tenants, and a little bit of family as well. So now I do all three of those in the firm that I work in. And so essentially, like Jahan was saying, the expungement sealing process is going to be where I can meet with clients to just give them legal advice on whether or not they qualify. I think a lot of people don't know that there are processes where you can take certifications, obtain a diploma, different certificates that would allow you to cut the time down when you are off of probation to get that record sealed. There's no waiting period. Typically, there's a 3-year waiting period to seal records, and things like that. That knowledge, having to know that, if I go get the certification, once my probation or parole is over, I can immediately go get this record sealed versus, wait an additional 3 years. Whereas expungement, is meaning that you have not actually been convicted of an offense, and then you can actually get that done a lot quicker, some immediate, some after your supervision period, for example. So that would be the bulk of what I do and have done with Prairie State. I'm excited about that, to continue to work with those particular clientele. Orders of protection, there are a lot of people in this area that have experience in being in a domestic violence situation. Tremendously affects their children who are seeing this on a daily basis, who are attending District 150 schools, who are affected. All of those cause domino effects in, you know, their learning, their ability to retain information, to focus on their schooling. And so things like that, where you may not think of right off bat that being important, those type of family cases are important, and it affects the entire family. So I'll be working on that area of law as well as like maybe simple divorces. You maybe can't get away from that abusive person because you are married. We all know divorces, or may know divorces, can cost up to thousands of dollars. And so having an attorney that can get that done for you quickly, painlessly, hopefully, as possible, allows the parents of these students in District 150 to get back to their lives and continue to make a better path for their children for, you know, all those particular areas of law. So, yeah, thank you.